All right, thanks everyone. Good afternoon. As Patrick mentioned, I am Barry Poe and Director of Product Management at NGRAIN. And along with my colleague Tim Hayes, we'd like to thank you for taking a little bit of time out of your schedule here at the conference to sit down and learn a little bit more about what we do at NGRAIN and how we can provide you with content creation tools that enable you to create your own AR/VR content for industrial applications. So what we're going to do today is take you through a quick run-through of who we are at NGRAIN, what it is that we do. I'll cover a little bit about NGRAIN Vergence at a high level, talk a little bit about pricing, how you can get access to it, and then I'll pass the rein over to my colleague Tim Hayes, who is going to provide a bit of a demo and a walkthrough so that you can see how NGRAIN Vergence is used in practice. And hopefully we'll have a few minutes at the end for a bit of a wrap-up and some questions and answers. So, for those of you who might not be familiar with NGRAIN, we are a 3D augmented reality company whose focus is exclusively on the enterprise and industrial applications. And NGRAIN software and technology is used in 27 countries around the world. We're very proud of the fact that we have a number of many customers across the Global 2000 in aerospace and defense, in energy, in manufacturing, as well as in healthcare amongst our customer base. And regardless of where you are in your journey to adopt augmented reality, we have a product or technology for you. So for those of you who are specifically interested in content creation tools, NGRAIN Vergence is our flagship tool. And it's ultimately designed to make it really easy for you and your business to rapidly prototype AR content and applications so that you can build out demonstrators and proofs of concept that you can use within your organization. And because of the way that Vergence is designed, that same content can then be used for operational point solutions across various parts of your business. So if you have a need to be able to go and use AR/VR content out in the field for instructional content or for training purposes, then you can take that content and deploy that in the field really quickly with NGRAIN Vergence. If you're thinking bigger picture and are more interested in kind of how you would use augmented reality for operational deployment, then NGRAIN also provides a software development kit which consists of our core volumetric rendering engine, as well as the application logic that allows you to build AR applications. But we also provide a suite of industrial applications, which we won't go into here today, but they're indeed available. I'm more than happy to have a chat about those if you're interested. So that's a pretty good segue into NGRAIN Vergence as a product. And broadly speaking, NGRAIN Vergence is a content creation tool that makes it really easy for you to create content, AR/VR content. You don't have to write any code when you're using Vergence to create that content. And because of the way that we deploy content by providing you with companion apps that sit alongside Vergence, we make it really easy for you to create content that can be deployed onto any device that runs iOS, Android, or Windows. So let's say you've got a mobile device, a tablet, or a wearable that you're interested in getting augmented reality or virtual reality content onto. We have software that can read content that you've created in Vergence and ultimately allow you to play that back on the device. So some of the key things that NGRAIN Vergence enables you to do is interaction with thousands of parts. So no piece of content in the NGRAIN world is a single monolithic model. In fact, every model can be decomposed into thousands of parts that you can interact and individually interact with. We also provide the capability to link individual parts in that 3D model to step-by-step instructions, procedures, and tasks, other kinds of instructional content. And once you've authored all of that content, it can be deployed in a variety of different ways, including going straight through to augmented reality. So some of the key benefits of using Vergence, first off, we enable the use of your existing 3D content. So for instance, if you've got existing CAD because you work in a manufacturing business or are engaged in product lifecycle management, we can take CAD data in. Or if you've got DCC, digital 3D content that comes from a 3D authoring tool like Autodesk Max or Maya, those are all content formats that are supported by NGRAIN. And those are easy ways for you to convert that content into something that Vergence can then use. We have the philosophy of being able to deploy once, or to develop once, and then to deploy everywhere. So once you've created 3D content with the NGRAIN platform, it's not necessary to create special versions just for every single application you're creating. What you're effectively creating is a single enterprise data asset that includes your 3D geometry, as well as enterprise knowledge that you might be able to deploy out into the field with your mobile workforce. We enable incredible compression through our core volumetric rendering engine. So files that are typically hundreds of megabytes in size can be reduced down to just a few megabytes. So it's possible for you to go and take complex 3D content and then get it deployed out onto a mobile device without too much difficulty. So portability is not an issue with the NGRAIN format. And last thing is our pricing structure, which is not centered around licensing per deployment. So once you've purchased a license of NGRAIN Vergence, you're welcome to go and deploy that content onto as many devices as you like. All we do is make that possible for you by making sure that the apps that are available to you are available for free. So if you're interested in picking up a copy of NGRAIN Vergence, it's available on our website today. You can just head to ngrain.com and you'll see links to go and purchase and download software. The software is available on a subscription basis, so it's $249 US a month per seat. And of course, if we're talking about larger quantities or volume licensing, we can provide discounts as well. One of the things I want to point out here is that we're introducing a new industrial AR content creation kit. And the reason that we're doing that is because we wanted to make sure that the AR community had access to effectively everything that a developer would need in order to experiment and try out augmented reality in a box. So we've got a content creation kit that includes a 3-month subscription to Vergence and software. We provide a pair of Epson BT200 Moverio smart glasses, which are preloaded with NGRAIN software. And we also provide an industrial AR target, in this case a 3D printed model like this industrial water pump here. So what you can do with the kit is effectively start experimenting with augmented reality by simply putting on the glasses and trying out the preloaded NGRAIN software. And when you're ready to go and take the next step and start bringing in some of your own content, then the Vergence software will allow you to go and do that. And of course, all of that is available for the price of about just under $1,500 US. So before I hand the reins over to Tim, what I'd like to do is talk a little bit about the major stages that are involved in actually getting content delivered or created and deployed using NGRAIN Vergence. And there are really 4 basic steps. The first is importing your content. So you take your source content in whatever source format it is, convert that into the NGRAIN format, and then you can link that 3D geometry you've imported to 3D animations, instructional content, images, audio, and video that can be associated to individual parts within that 3D model. You can layer in task information and other interactive components. And then there's a deployment and configuration step where effectively you choose what device you'd like to deploy out to, as well as what kind of tracking techniques you'd like to be able to use. So I realize that it's probably better to see NGRAIN Vergence in action than it is to tell you a little bit about it. So what I'd like to do now is pass the reins over to Tim, and he'll walk you through Vergence in practice.
Okay, hello everybody. Let's hope I don't wreck anything by bringing this down here. And there we go. Okay, here we are in NGRAIN Vergence. Barry kind of alluded to this. This little 3D printed pump that we've got, what you get with that, that kit that comes packaged with the BT200s. into live databases that you have in your enterprise. So you can actually get the current stock level of a specific part. You can actually get when it was last replaced, or if there's any outstanding work orders on it. And this is all now accessible via augmented reality using the physical equipment as the interface for that. Anyway, that's a bit of a non sequitur. I'm supposed to be showing you how to create content here. So we have a model with multiple parts. Another thing that we can do is create simple little animations. Now, I'll show you what that looks like. All I've done is click this button, say create new animation, and in my animation timeline in the bottom, it's created a keyframe. All I need to do now is manipulate my workspace. Say I want to move in here, and I want to create a double click to create a new keyframe. And what that does is the system will now interpolate between these keyframes. So this is a very, very simple system to quickly create animations. I'm going to very quickly move a couple of parts here using a little tool to make sure that they're moving in the right position, in the right space. I'm going to create a new keyframe, and then I do the same with this part. I take it off, and then I want to hide it. And you can see what I'm doing here. I've got an animation where I go around to this side of the pump, and I'm removing parts. And that was half a dozen button clicks. And now I've got a little animation that's essentially showing off a procedure that you may want to perform on this pump. How to replace this air cleaner element. What I'll do is I created a slightly fancier one earlier that I'm not going to go through all of the features, but you can see what it may look like. So we can do things like add these constraints that will have bolt screw out. All of that is built in. These are some advanced features that are outside of the scope of this specific tutorial, but I wanted to show you how to do it with just a couple of keyframes so that you could see what was going on. This is a procedure replacing this air cleaner element that we're going to actually create the procedure for, like a step-by-step walkthrough that we can show in augmented reality. So now, as a user of this augmented reality app, I'll be able to walk up to the equipment, say, hey, how do I remove that air cleaner element? How do I replace it? And it will walk me through this procedure. So just so that we're all familiar with what's going on in here, it's a really simple procedure. I remove a wing nut, I remove a cover, I remove another wing nut, and then I basically put it all back together. Pretty simple. So let's do that. I just go over to my tasks panel, and we've got some more UI here. We've got a parts bin over on the left, and we've got a storyboard that's replaced our animation timeline before. Now, just like creating an animation, for some reason typing in front of people, you always mess it up. I create a new task, and it creates a starting keyframe-esque thing. So if you recall, the first step of that procedure was to remove this wing nut. So all I need to do is pull it out and drop it into the parts bin. Same with the animation. I make a change to the workspace, and then I create a new keyframe. In this case, I'm creating a new storyboard item. So the first step is to remove a lock and wing nut. It gives me two keyframes, what the system looks like before, and then an end state, which is what it looks like after. In this case, I've taken the wing nut out, and I put it in the parts bin. And I repeat for this cover. I repeat for this wing nut. You'll notice that I mentioned those constraints earlier. This actually works on interaction in the workspace, just as a fun little side note. And then now I want to replace this air cleaner element. I just drag it out. There we go. I've got a 4-step procedure to remove it. So now all I need to do is put it back together. I drag this in, and I want to attach it. It's back in place. I've created, so in this case, all these other steps, it automatically named my procedure for me. It gave me an instruction text just because it knew a little bit about what I was doing. It could back on. I just screw that back on, create a new step. But I happen to know this procedure well, and I happen to know that when people are screwing on this wing nut, they sometimes over tighten it and damage the equipment. So what I'm going to do on this step is I'm going to edit a step action and create a little warning message that's going to pop up saying, warning, whoops, my caps lock, warning, do not over tighten, or something to that effect. So now my little keyframe storyboard item has a start action associated with it, meaning as the user is progressing their way through this procedure, as it gets to this step, saying attach the internal wing nut, a warning is going to pop up saying, hey, be on guard, don't over tighten this. The idea is that we need to warn them before they actually do it. Like if this is the equivalent of a big red warning box in your user guide, but if you're constantly going back and forth between actually doing the work and then reading the user guide, you tend to miss those things pretty quickly. This way, since it's guided step by step on device, this warning message pops up and stops you from proceeding. We'll see that when we actually run it. And I just carry on with this. I attach this guy. There we have it. We have, in, I don't know how long that's been, but not terribly long, created an 8-step demo procedure that walks you through a procedure that you may want to perform on this piece of equipment. I'm actually going to switch over to I will switch over to the iPad in a minute, but something that I just want to show this off very quickly. We have, the way we deploy these things, we have now just created, we have added value to this model. The model is no longer just the geometry. We've added context, or what we call knowledge. Our file format's called a 3D knowledge object. So now this model knows more about how it operates. So this is now packaged up and it's all baked into this 3KO, which you can now deploy in various different ways. It includes some of the features of the other demos that you've seen at past shows, but most importantly, this is a much nicer user experience. So I'm going to hop directly into the live view and start this tracking, hopefully. There we go. And now I'm able to tap and select parts as you can see, I get this nice little outline of the part. I'm able to go to the side here, and if I want to select different parts by name, I can also get access to all of those per part properties that we added. Now, like imagine that I'm now out on a factory floor, I'm looking at the actual equipment, and I'm able to be like, oh, I wonder how many of those we have in stock, and I'm able to just say, oh, what is that? And then it will show me the information right here. I don't have to go and look it up at a terminal somewhere or go into a back room somewhere. That's one thing. But the important thing is, let's go in and replace that air cleaner element. So I select a task, replace air cleaner element. And what it's doing is it's showing me remove the external wing nut. That's the first step that we made. I would then physically remove that wing nut and tap, and it will go on to the next step. Remove the air cleaner cover. And I work my way through this procedure as we did it before. I remove the air cleaner element, I install it, I check alignment's correct, and here's that alert that I was talking about. It's now stopped me from progressing through this operation, progressing through this procedure until I acknowledge that I'm not going to over tighten this wing nut as I'm putting it in. Things are wigging out a little bit. And anyway, that is actually all I really wanted to show here. With that, do you have anything else to add before we go to questions?
I think what I'd like to do is maybe open the floor up to questions. I think hopefully you've gotten a sense for what you can do inside NGRAIN Vergence, as well as how the path from getting from source content out to deployment looks like with our workflow. Hi.
Can we switch to?
Yep.
Can we switch the? Yeah. Thanks. Maybe we can just repeat the question.
There we go.
Okay.
I work at a college that deals with TVET stuff, and basically it's in another country. So 2 questions. A, can you add can you add language prompts from other languages, or is it? Yes, no problem.
Yeah, we can support.
And what about audio?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Based on the keyframes?
In the animations, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah, no problem. Yep.
I'm working also as a dean of faculty in a technical training school. One of the interesting parts about augmentation training, augmentation reality, is that we have some critiques, because we applied on those technology, some critiques that using a computer for some mechanical parts, like the one you mentioned, tightening, or not using the right tools. So is there any suggestion or opportunities that you could add a set of tools that could be attract people who used to use the tools more than using a computer?
So maybe I can ask a clarifying quote. When you say tools, do you mean like the physical tools that
Yes.
people would work with?
Yeah,
So,
like a physical tools in sort of joysticks, or
oh, I see. Other kinds of input.
Yes.
So certainly if you have a device that does support other kinds of input, there is a way to go and map that input directly into the way that you would interact with the end application. So that's certainly something that's possible. It is a little unusual given the way that we typically deploy that, so that might be something to keep in mind, but I don't really think that there are any barriers that would prevent us from being able to support things that way.
Okay, thank you.
I have also a question. I know NGRAIN, the tools as well, but the only thing that actually was missing is the material and the shader support that's inside NGRAIN, because now everything is mapped, like baked information
Yep,
of
it's
the
all
things
baked.
that you use through the Studio Max. Are you working on that? Because it's something that's missing for a long time, actually.
Yeah, so that's very
Because
much in our
customers-
roadmap.
Because the customers are looking more into shiny stuff. End result is important, but the visual quality is also very important, because customers demands more and more, and that's was actually the thing that this thing is missing.
Yeah.
So if I may make a comment on that, one of the reasons that we were showing just the outline in the iPad app is to avoid the need for it. Because now when you're actually doing augmented reality, you've got the actual piece of equipment in front of you. You don't need a whole lot of visual fidelity because you can get the color, the actual color of the equipment that's in front of you. If it's dirty, if it's covered in, if it got a bunch of paint chips out of it, the actual look of the equipment is actually there. That's what you're looking at. So all we need to do, if we can show the outline of the part, that is more than enough for you to be able to indicate, well, that's the next part I'm supposed to be interacting with.
Our customers, they don't.
They don't agree? Okay.
So I mean, for your customers, certainly if there's a need to be able to get that dynamic lighting, that is definitely something that we have in our product roadmap. Something that we haven't really shown because it's something that's on specific for Windows support right now, so that we do have like a next generation version of our core engine that does have that kind of dynamic lighting capability.
Yep.
There's a question right.
Anyway, all of them.
I just had a question about, you guys showed that there were a lot of static properties of each part, and I was wondering, is there any way that you can dynamically support that? And also, in addition to that, it looked like a lot of you were doing was attach this item, detach this item. So what I'm wondering is, is it possible just to create a database of part descriptions with instructions on how to install that and to do away with all the visual tooling and just say, you know what, detach this part, attach this part, and then also I'm querying from that database the stock, all the sort of live information. Is that something that NGRAIN can do, or?
So, in fact,
go ahead.
So I think from a product roadmap perspective, import tools that make it easy for you to do that kind of integration with a live enterprise system that has access to the data is something that's in our roadmap. If you're looking for that kind of integration today, that's already available in our suite of industrial applications. So one of the things that we can do is work together to get you the application that you deploy out to the end user in the field, and then also work with you on the actual data integration on the back end side of things.
We have demos. You should stop by the booth. You can see it. Yep.
Thanks, guys. Great demo. You mentioned in there that you can see the stock list, the service history, and the like. What systems are you integrating with to pull that data, and how?
Yep. So our support is actually fairly generic in that we've got an integration API that allows you to go and create data connectors that connect from a source data system into the data model that NGRAIN uses. So if you've got a data system in mind, we can build a connector for it that allows you to pull data from that system.
Yep. No problem. Right here.
When you're publishing the content out to iPad, are you able to, or do we have to use your app, or can we make our own personalized app using like an NGRAIN framework or something of the like?
So that would fit in the realm of our software development kit. So it is technically possible. Obviously, we used our own SDK to create our own app, so it is technically possible. But you know, the big value add for a lot of people using Vergence is to go and take one of the pre-made apps so that you're not taking up that investment and having to create your own custom software. So it is definitely possible if that's something that you're interested in.
I'm not sure if this question fits, but is there SCORM compliancy with any of your objects you put out? There is?
Yeah, there is. In fact, I think there's like a menu option.
Yeah, actually, I didn't. I maybe should have showed some of that.
Not that I'm coming from a teaching background.
But like, to publish, we can go straight to AR. We've got the SCORM compliance, and we can also do this straight to an HTML thing with, you know, and you can customize the HTML look and feel if you want. So, but that's all built in here, and it's dead easy. Please.
Maybe you mentioned this earlier, but how big of an object can you track?
Well, that depends on your tracking setup. This demo that we're using is an optical tracking on the iPad, so it's dependent on how far away you want to be. So we have, if you come by the booth and at the floor, we're going to be tracking like a life-size version of this pump, which is about the size of this table. But we have tracked much larger objects. but we're pretty like the tool chain is agnostic to what tracking system you use. So if you come in with a different tracking system and say, I really want to use this because it works on really large objects, aircraft or something, we'll be able to integrate with that, no trouble. Yeah. Anything else? Oh.
Can you customize anything else, not just animations, like say put in a button that will, if you press this, it will scale up an object or something? Is it possible with Vergence, or you have to use your SDK?
There are ways to do it with Vergence. Yes, the short answer is yes, there are ways to do it. The slightly longer version is it's not as streamlined as you might hope it would be. But, but yes, there's ways to do it. Less so in the augmented reality situation, because that's tied to the real world, and like zooming in on objects, you don't really want to do that in augmented reality. But in the virtual setup, absolutely you can do that. Yep. Anything else? Yeah.
Hi, this is Venugopal. Does this read data from the PLM systems so that I can retain my Explorer structure as it is?
So again, if you're interested in being able to do that, that's something that we can bring in with our suite of industrial applications.
Okay.
And one of the things that we have in the Vergence roadmap are to provide you with tools that will allow you to do that kind of back-end integration into PLM systems without a whole lot of effort.
Okay. Yep. The second question is, may I know what are all the types of CAD it can import here?
So we support all of the major CAD formats, so SolidWorks and CATIA are formats that we work with very regularly, but if you've got a CAD format that you're using specifically, I am 99% sure that we support it.
Oh, thank you.
Beyond that, if you want to take a scanner and 3D scan your objects, or you want to, like the nice thing about having our own format is that we can do a lot with it, and we can bring in a lot of different data sources. Standard CAD and like 3S and polygonal models, but also scan point clouds, what have you. We've done brain scans and stuff as well, if that's a thing you're interested in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you support .ptx formats, like text formats for point clouds? And the answer is yes.
Yep. Great. Well, thank you very much, everyone.
Excellent. Thank you.